Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I thought I'd do something a little bit different. This is something that I've seen other people on YouTube do, so I figured I'd jump on the bandwagon and do my own version of the video. Today I'm going to go through all the cars that I've owned since I passed my test. I'll sort of tell you a little bit about each, what I liked about them, what I didn't like about them, any modifications or anything that I did to them whilst I had them, and just kind of go through the list and give you an idea of my car history and what sort of cars I've owned. Now, I haven't owned too many vehicles in my driving years. A lot of the cars that I have owned have been projects and never actually made it to the road, but I'm going to chuck those in because I did technically own them. So I'll tell you the cars that I've driven and the cars that I've owned, and also the cars that I've owned but they were more projects than they were my car. So before I get started, I'll give you a quick rundown on my history, my driving history, how long I've been on the road, etc. So I'm now 27 years of age. I passed my test when I was 17, but I didn't start driving until I just turned 18. I passed my test in May 2009 and I got my first car in August 2009. So there was about 3 months between when I passed my test and when I got my first car on the road. There was a couple of reasons for that, and it was a very painful experience having my driving license but not being able to drive a car yet. So I'm 18 years old and I'm searching for my first car. I don't think I had a job at this point, so I didn't have any money to buy a car. However, my nan was nice enough to buy me my first car, and because I wasn't the one choosing it technically, I wasn't able to choose whatever car I wanted. It was more sort of my nan's choice, which I was okay with because at the time a car was a car to me. I was not bothered what it looked like, what colour it was, what shape it was, anything. I just wanted to drive. You know what it's like when you first pass your test and you want to get in your car for the first time. I wasn't bothered what car I got, I just wanted a car. So we looked around a couple of cars and we came across a Fiat Punto at a dealership close to my nan's house, a Fiat dealership. So my first car was a 1997 1.1 litre Fiat Punto. It was like a strange sea green colour, but my nan was kind enough to buy it for me and I was over the moon. Now, little did I know that I would actually own this vehicle for probably around 3 years I had it. Again, there was a number of reasons for this. The main reason being that the car actually never gave me any issues that I can remember. It never broke down on me the whole time I had it, which is surprising for such an old car. It never really failed an MOT that I can remember either. It never needed any serious work doing for any MOTs, so it was a nice reliable car, so I didn't really just want to get rid of it. So like I said, I had that car for about 3 years, did a few bits and pieces to it, you know. It didn't have alloy wheels, so I put some new wheel trims on it, some black ones, a couple of stickers. I also DIY tinted the windows, which is the first modification that I'd actually done to my car myself. Tinted the windows, stickers, wheel trims, blue lights in the footwells, all the typical 17, 8-year-old modifications that people do to like an older car. I did them. HID headlight bulbs, all sorts of bits and pieces like that, tinted the rear lights, all the cheesy cheap mods that you can think of I did to that car because I was kind of experimenting and just trying to figure out the way that I wanted it to look. So what was the car like? It was an extremely basic car. It didn't have any mod cons, no niceties whatsoever. The windows were not electric, they were wind up windows. It didn't even have power steering, didn't have air conditioning, didn't have any of that stuff. Completely basic. I think the only thing electrically it had was a heated rear windscreen, and I put an aftermarket stereo in it as well, but that is all the niceties it had. It was extremely basic. If you've ever owned one of these Fiat Puntos, you'll know this model. I think it was like the really low end model as well. Probably quite a good first car because it really set the bar low for my next car. Pretty much any car after this was going to be an upgrade. There wasn't really any way of downgrading from the Punto, which leads me on to my next car. So I had the Punto for about, I want to say 2 to 3 years. I think it was 3 years I had it. And then I started to feel like I needed something a little bit more, something a bit more power, something a little bigger, something with a few more niceties, like I said, because the Punto was just so basic. I wanted electric windows, maybe air conditioning, stuff like that. I definitely wanted more power because the little 1.1 Punto is really slow, like extremely slow. So I just wanted something that had a bit more kick. So I was looking around. Didn't take me long to find a Vauxhall Astra Mark IV. It was sat on a roundabout near to where I was living at the time, and it was up for a fairly good price, so I took my dad with me because at this point I knew like nothing about cars whatsoever. I didn't know what to look for. Mechanically, I knew absolutely nothing. So I took my dad with me, as you do. We looked over it, took it for a little test drive. I really wanted it. I thought that it was quite a good upgrade on the Punto. So it was a silver 3-door Astra Mark IV 1.8 Sport. Very similar to like the SXI or the SRI, the Sport version was. It came with electric windows, air conditioning, obviously the 1.8 engine, which was a lot more pokey than what my Punto was, so that was a good upgrade. I actually had some power for once, which was nice. Alloy wheels, and it's just like overall a nicer car. It had some rough areas. One of the rear arches was rusty, but apart from that, it was actually a really nice car and I really liked it. I didn't have it for too long though. I think I ended up having that for about 1.5 to 2 years. The reason I got rid of it was because it was rusting on one of the arches. At the time I had no clue how to fix that sort of thing. Had it been now, I would probably still have that car right now, which is why I've got an Astra at the moment. But I really liked that car. As soon as I got rid of it, I missed the thing, and I always wanted another one. Astra Mark IVs are probably my favourite shape. I think it's probably the best model of Astra they've ever made when it comes to looks. You may disagree, but it's just my personal opinion. Yeah, I really liked that car. It was a good car at the time. Did a few modifications to it. I painted the wheels black. I painted the calipers red. I tinted the windows on this as well, put a spoiler on it, HID headlights, interior LED lights, all that sort of typical stuff that you do to your car, little modifications just to make it a little bit nicer. I think I tinted the rear lights on this one as well. So I basically copied the Punto and just put it all onto the Astra, and it actually turned out to be quite a good looking car at the end, bar a few imperfections in the paintwork. But yeah, probably my favourite car that I've ever owned. So at the time of me having the Astra, it was about the same time that I was getting into YouTube. I was watching YouTube a lot more, and I actually started doing a few tool videos on my channel and stuff like that. And I got to the point where I wanted a project, like something I could work on, a car that I could work on, which brings me on to my next car. So shortly after I got rid of the Astra, it went to the scrapyard. It's in scrap car heaven now. I went and looked at a 1.2 Corsa SXI 5-door in black. I got it. Did a few videos on it. If you want to watch the playlist on it, I'll leave it in the description down below. But I did Project SXI on that, which was, it needed a head gasket, timing chain, and I think I like semi rebuilt the head on it as well, put it all back together, and that car did me well for, I think I had that for 2 years as well. Once I'd done all the work on it, it was actually a really solid car, got me through MOTs with like no problems whatsoever, and I think I ended up owning that for 2 years, maybe a little bit longer than 2 years, but around 2 years, maybe 2.5. But like with my Punto, I was just wanting something a little bit more. Corsas, you know, small little hatchbacks, they don't have a lot, no air conditioning or anything like that. They're fairly basic, there's not a lot to them, they're small as well, so they're not the most practical cars when it comes to being able to take people around. So I was just looking for something a little bit more, something a little newer, and something a bit safer, and a few more gadgets, and just something a bit more upmarket than a Corsa, because I was getting a little bit bored of it at the time. So I did a bit of car shopping. That leads me on to my next car, which is a car that I actually still own right now, which is a Ford Focus LX 2005, which has a 1.6 petrol engine in it. Again, this was a step up from the Corsa. It's a 5-door. It's got electric windows, and the LX is quite a basic model. I think it's actually one of the lowest models you can get. But what I thought I could do is upgrade the car myself. I could add new seats, which I have done. You can watch the video of that. Put Recaro seats in it from an Ford Focus ST225. I put a new head unit in it. I put a nicer steering wheel in it, a leather steering wheel, an armrest. I put a set of alloys on it as well. And just made it an overall nicer car. So inside it feels quite luxurious, it's got a nice feel to it, and on the outside it doesn't look too bad either. Now I've had that car for coming on 2 years I think now. Really solid car, goes through MOTs like nobody's business, has like no issues whatsoever. The only thing I've ever done on it is a clutch. Like a week after I bought it, I didn't film any of this because I was in sort of a rush to get it done, but a week after I bought it, the clutch went on it. But that was a super easy job. I quickly just did it in the driveway. It took me like half a day to do it, got that done, and ever since that the car has been pretty good. Other than a couple of little minor issues, it's never broken down or anything like that. So that has been a really solid car, and that is one of the reasons why it is still in the fleet at the moment. I just can't bring myself to sell it because I've put a lot of work into it, put a lot of money into it, and it's just been an overall great car. It's good to haul around stuff because when you put the seats down, the boot is massive. It's a good sized car, and it's good for taking people out and about in as well, family members and stuff like that. Now I think I missed out in between there somewhere. I had a Vauxhall Astra Mark IV, another one, a black SRI 5-door. It wasn't on the channel for long. I think I made like 1 or 2 videos on it. I put a new engine in it from one of my old Astra, my silver Astra. I put that engine in this one, but that project never really went anywhere or finished because I found out that one of the frame rails was bent and I wasn't prepared to put the money in to get it all straightened out and stuff. The car just wasn't worth it, so that ended up going to the scrap. So I did have a black 5-door Mark IV SRI. That didn't last very long, so I don't really count that too much as one of my cars because that went to the scrap heap as well. So still owning the Focus right now. That leads me on to my next car. Once I got rid of the Astra project, the black SRI 5-door, I wanted another project, but I wanted something different, something that I've never delved into before. So my dad and me were on the lookout for something, and we managed to find an MGTF 1.8 convertible on Gumtree. It needed a clutch, but I was not expecting how much work this car was going to be. We got it, didn't pay too much money for it, we got it here. I did the clutch. I've got footage of doing the clutch, but I never ever put it online. But there was just so many other things that this car needed. It was rusty as heck. It needed suspension bits, it needed brakes, it needed a new brake servo, it needed so much stuff that it was just too much of a project. And to be honest with you, after a little while, my heart just was not in that car whatsoever, and I wasn't enjoying working on it, and I wasn't enjoying the project as a whole. That's why you never saw any videos of it. I just wasn't a fan, but I ended up selling that as a project, and we got the same money that we paid for it back. A dad and his son decided they wanted to project together, so they bought that off me. That went. That's why you never really saw it on the channel. You saw it in the background of videos sometimes, but you never would have seen like a video specifically on it. So once that had gone, I wanted another project. I managed to find another Corsa 1.2. This time it was a 3-door and it needed a clutch. So I bought it as spares or repairs. They said that it needed a clutch, which it did. I decided I want to do something a little different with it. The original plan was to fix it and just sell it as like a nice working Corsa because it was in good condition apart from that. But I wanted to do something a little different, so that turned into Project 1.8, which, as you all know, was probably the most popular project on the channel so far, and it really boosted my channel when it comes to views and subscribers. That really set me off on quite a good trajectory. Everyone seemed to enjoy that project. I really enjoyed it, and that's why I still have the car now. It is going to be up for sale soon. I plan on getting it MOT'd in the next couple of weeks, and it will be up for sale, I think. But I am going to insure it for a week and have a bit of fun in it because after having done all that work to it, I don't just want to sell it. I do want to have a bit of fun with it. So I'm going to get some temporary insurance for like a week, go make some videos on it, go and do some point of view drives and stuff like that, and just get a little bit of content out of it before it goes away and it gets sold. So it will be for sale soon if anyone's interested. Drop me a message on Instagram or something if you want to buy it, because that will be up soon. So once the Corsa 1.8 project was finished, I was still a little bit hungry for another little hatchback, and so I was scouring Gumtree like I always do, trying to find spares or repairs or projects that need a little bit of work, and I came across the Fiesta Zetec S that I still currently own now. Again, that car is still part of the fleet, as you know. It's actually my main car now. Black 3-door Fiesta Zetec S 1.6, which is my little baby, and I love it. And it's going to be around for a long time. Even if I'm not driving it as like a daily, I am going to be storing it at some point because I can't see myself selling that for a long time. I'm just in love with the car. I love the way it looks. I love the way it drives. It's just an all-round great little car. I bought it for £300 on Gumtree. It needed a couple of things. I did the water pump on it, filmed that. I did a little bit of suspension work, I think, filmed that. I filmed the whole process, took it for an MOT. It had to have a little bit of welding done to it. Had the welding done. And now it's got 12 months MOT on it, and I drive it around, and it's a brilliant little motor. Really enjoy that car. And again, that done really well on the channel. Everybody seemed to enjoy it as well. You can't go wrong with a little Mark V Zetec S. Really good little cars. And that leads me on to my last vehicle, my latest purchase, which is the Project 1.6 Astra, as you know. We've had the engine completely apart, completely rebuilt it. I bought it as a car, as a project for one. But number two, it's going to be replacing the Fiesta. The Fiesta is going to get stored away and brought out every now and again, but the Astra is going to turn into my main car. Now that the engine's running, there's a few other bits I need to do. I need to swap some exhaust parts, some suspension parts and brakes and stuff like that. But after that, I've got a bunch of stuff lined up for it. I've got body kits to do. There's a spoiler right here, as you can see. to go on. I've got a back bumper, a front bumper, I've got wheels, I've got Astra GSI brakes to put on it. I've got so much stuff that I want to do to this car. That car is going to become the main channel focus for a little while, maybe for a couple of months, and then once I'm sorted out and I've got rid of all these cars, because the 2 courses are going to be going, once I've got rid of them, I will probably be looking for another project after that. You know, you might think I'm crazy buying all these cars and having all these cars, but to keep the channel going, I need to keep fresh projects on the go, because people get bored, projects get stale, just run out of things to do on certain projects. So I want to keep the channel fresh, I want to keep it going. But that's kind of all the cars I've had. I can't think of any others that I've missed out. I'm pretty easily pleased when it comes to power and looks. I like things simple. I like older cars. I've never ever looked into getting like a finance car. I find that boring. I'd rather keep an older car on the road and keep an older car alive. That's just the way I am. But yeah, that's kind of it. I did have a moped before all these cars. I did forget to mention that right at the start. A moped that I've still got now. Had it since I was 16, so 11 years I've had that. So if you want to see any moped content, let me know. I'd be willing to do some moped videos. I do want to get that thing started again, actually. I need to clean out the carburetor and stuff because it's been sitting for a while, but if you want to see any moped content, let me know down below. But yeah, that's kind of it. I just wanted to talk through all the cars that I've owned. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, most of the cars I've owned have just been projects. I haven't actually owned that many cars just normally, but hey, it's all fun and games. I enjoy doing it. So the comment question for this video is going to be, leave down below a list of the cars you've owned, how long you've been driving for, and what your favourite car you've ever owned is maybe. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, something a little different. I'm currently waiting on car parts for the Astra. I'm also currently waiting on car parts for the Corsa that failed the MOT the other week. So there is going to be car stuff coming. I apologise if this was just like a sit down video and just me chatting away, but sometimes these videos have got to be done to fill in waiting for car parts, because as you know, things take a few days to get in. But I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Make sure you give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe for future content, and I'll see you in the next one.